Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. So I know I recently did a vintage inspired snowman video, but I had a request from one of my besties, Jen, for Valentine Snowmen, so I'm sharing. Let's get into it. Starting out as usual with a couple of styrofoam balls. This is a 3-inch ball. I'll cut a flat spot on the bottom with a serrated knife so he won't roll away. Now Jen wants 2 snowmen, so I'll be making them simultaneously, but I'll just show you the process for one as they'll be identical. Usually I'd cut flat spots top and bottom of both balls, but we don't need to do that for this guy. Today I'm using Crayola Model Magic. It dries quicker than regular air dry clay and it's lighter. Since time is of the essence, I'm going with the Model Magic. So I grab a handful and I'll knead it a bit. I'll cover it with parchment paper and flatten it with my brayer until it's nice and thin. I place the clay onto the ball and press it on, making sure it's really stuck on there. I'll roll it around on the table to smooth it, and I'll add more clay where needed. I keep doing this until the ball's completely covered. Since this is a snowball, it can have some bumps like a real snowball would. Rolling it around really does help it both stick and smooth it out. I'm just adding a few more pieces there to make sure that it's completely covered. And I repeat this process on the smaller ball. You get the idea. Next are his features. I've done one already, you can see here. I rolled a couple of small clay balls. I cut one in half for his cheeks, and when cutting, it kind of presses the 2 pieces into a more teardrop shape, which works well for the cheeks. So push them into place, gently pressing so as not to distort the shape, but so that it does have good contact with the clay on the face. I grab a lollipop stick for no reason other than that it was close in hand, and I'm going to use it to make a dimple indentation on the underside of his cheeks. A paintbrush handle would work too. I'm just pushing up slightly into the cheek to make the dimple. Another small ball between his cheeks for his nose, pushing it right in there. I cut 2 pieces from a dowel a few inches long, which will be used to eventually attach his head to his body. I'm going to push them into the bottom of his head and then into the top of his body, just to make the holes. To make his arms, I'll roll a ball of clay into a log shape until I get it to the length I want it. This is 6 inches, and I'll cut it into 2 3-inch pieces. I roll those cut edges to round them out a bit. And now I'll cut them in half lengthwise to give me 2 arms. I figure out where I want the arms to go and I push them into place. Model Magic sticks well to itself, but the nice thing about it is that you can easily reposition it too. I flatten and smooth the shoulder area to neaten it up a bit. I poke a hole in his hand with a skewer for the sign he'll be holding, and I'll set him aside to dry. In the meantime, let's make some embellishments. Usually I'd make my characters' hats from clay, but thought I'd mix it up a bit and make these guys a paper crown. That one was my test crown. I worked out the size it would need to be and made a template, which I'll trace onto my scrapbook paper. I backed some paper with cardstock to give it some extra oomph, and I'll trace out one for each snowman, and then I'll cut them out. I form the crown, aligning the 2 endpoints, using a clip to hold it in place, and I hot glue the ends together. give the crown a solid base to attach to his head, I'm using some clay and a circle cookie cutter to make a disc, which I'll glue to the inside of the crown once the disc is dry. Okay, his neck ruffle. Look how cute this is. Really easy to make too. I cut 6 12-inch lengths of crepe paper, 3 red, 3 aqua. I alternate the colors, lining up the ends and the sides as best that I can. I fold it in half. I clip the ends together to make it easier to handle, and I'm going to cut off about a 1/4 inch from one of the long sides, because otherwise, once it's gathered, it would be too big. I just want to be sure to keep my uncut edge aligned. I open it up full length, and I'm going to use clips to keep the edges flush. I'll do one on the end there, and then I'll run a couple down the long side. I threaded a long needle with cotton thread. I gave myself plenty of thread, and I've knotted the end. I'll do a basting stitch, just in and out, doing a few stitches at a time, then pulling the thread through. I'm doing this to keep the thread from tangling and to make sure that my stitches are straight and approximately the same length, so that when I get to the end and gather the crepe paper, the ruffling is even. Of course, this can be done on a sewing machine, but not everybody has a sewing machine, so I thought I'd show you how to do it by hand. When I get to the end, I gently tug one end of the thread ruching the crepe paper as I tug. Then I pull a bit on the other end to get a really tight gathering. I'm just gently pulling it along that string because I don't want the paper to rip or the thread to break. Now that it's nice and tight, I knot the 2 thread ends, pulling tight to form the ruffled collar, and I'm going to give it 3 knots or so. I was fumble fingers here. Okay, there we go. And now I knot it. Who would have thought that part would be such a challenge? I cut circles from cardstock and I punched a hole in the center, which I'll glue in the middle of the ruffle on both sides, making sure that the hole in the cardstock is in line with the ruffle hole. Clipping off the extra thread before I glue on this circle. Now I'll separate out each layer of paper. I do the first layer on one side, then I'll go to the opposite side and do that first layer. I go back and forth like that because I think it's easier to get it fully open that way. And I'm fluffing out each layer. Once it's all fluffed out, I'm going to tamp it and kind of scrunch it down a little bit, again, so that it's not fully open. You see what I mean. Let's add some sparkle with some glitter. I've poured some red glitter onto a plate. This glitter has a sprinkle of like a blue confetti glitter mixed in with it to add some chunk. With a paintbrush, I'll apply Mod Podge to the edge of the ruffle, and I'll roll it in the glitter. I apply the Mod Podge in sections. It's much easier to handle it that way. So yeah, I just go around covering the edge, and then I'll go through and separate any of the paper that's stuck together. I just kind of pick it apart with my fingers. See, I don't want those layers to stick together with the Mod Podge. Here we go. I love a little sparkle. While the glitter's on the go, I'll add dots to the crown using Mod Podge, red on the red stripes and blue on the blue stripes. I affix wee heart gems to the points of the crown with hot glue, just for a little extra pizzazz. I've had these heart gems forever. I bought a big bag of these for next to nothing back in the day. Now all this stuff is outrageously expensive, and you don't get a bag nearly as big as you used to. Anyway, I continue on with that until all the points have a little gem on them. Our snowmen are dry, so 2 coats of white paint are applied all over both heads and bodies. This is ceramic coat white acrylic paint that I'm using. I'm just going to make sure that he's got a really good coat on him. So now I'm going to add his mouth and his eyes with ceramic coat charcoal using my liner brush. The eyes are basically a capital D shape, so I'll turn my piece sideways and paint on a letter D. When you think of it as just painting on a letter D rather than drawing on an eye, I think it makes it so much easier to get even eyes. You know what I mean? Because my eyes generally tend to be a little oddly shaped. But thinking of it this way makes it easier to handle. I mean, everybody can print a letter D, right? Couple of wee lashes there on the side. His mouth we're going to think of as a wide U shape, and then below it another letter D. Couple of wee comma marks for eyebrows. He's a happy guy. I paint his nose with ceramic coat watermelon, and I dry brush his cheeks with it too. I'm using a wee scrubby brush to dry brush his cheeks. To give him a wee frosty tint, I dry brush ceramic coat Tropic Bay Blue all over this fella. So the white is still showing through, but I do want him to have that frosty tint all over. I do kind of focus the dry brushing in the nooks and crannies to give it a sense of shading there. I also use Tropic Bay to add an outline under his eyes, his mouth, and just under his brows. And I make a little U shape for his chin. I add white dots to highlight his eyes. I'm using ceramic coat Tahiti Blue to give him stripes on his cuffs. And I use a dowel to dot on buttons to his belly. Right in the center of his nose and cheeks, I will dot with watermelon, and I'm going to shake a little glitter on there for extra cuteness. Before I assemble him, I'll coat the body and head with Mod Podge using a cosmetic sponge, and then I'm going to sprinkle on diamond dust, also known as sugar glitter. Once they're completely covered, I spray the head and the body with clear matte sealer to seal in the glitter. That'll help to keep it from shedding. I embellish his buttons and his cuffs with some of those little heart gems using hot glue. So I slide the ruffle onto the dowel, and I'm going to add a dab of hot glue into the hole on his body, and then I attach the head. He's starting to come together. I glue the clay disc into the crown, and then I glue the crown onto his head. For a cleaner, more finished look, I glue a red metallic pipe cleaner around the bottom of the crown. To make his wee scepter sign, I pulled the hearts from this Dollar Tree pick, and I'll glue them into these skewers, which I painted Tahiti blue. I also tied some red and white baker string to the skewers for a decorative touch. I printed out these wee banner signs on cardstock that say, "La la love you," and I'll glue them to the hearts. I added some glue to the hole in his hand, and I'll just push in his wee scepter. As a pedestal for our guy, I grabbed this Dollar Tree gift box, and I added some glitter to the blue dots, and I also glued the lid on. I flattened some clay, and I painted it white. I'm going to glue it to the top of the box as a wee snow pile for our guy to rest on. I'll add some sugar glitter and some cello flakes to the snow pile before I attach the snowman, once again using a cosmetic sponge to apply the Mod Podge, then sprinkling on the glitter. All that's left to do now is to add some hot glue in the center and just pop him into place. All done. These fellows are so sweet. I already showed them to Jen. She loves them. So that makes me happy. I hope you enjoyed this project. I love making these wee clay sculptures, especially when I know they're going to a good home. These chaps will look adorable in Jen's living room. I upload most Fridays, and I have more sweet Valentine's projects coming up. And I'm also participating in some fun collaborations this month, so please check back. All supplies are in the description box. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.